If you ask any enthusiast what type of sports car they lust after, there's a good chance they're going to mention the Porsche 911 in that conversation. I mean, this nameplate has been around for nearly 60 years, and it's the sports car that every other manufacturer benchmarks their sports car up against. Now, when Porsche first introduced the all-new 8th generation, known internally as the 992, back in 2020, I had a chance to finally drive this car when I was out in Atlanta for a couple of hours in the GTS spec. Now, the GTS has always been the sweet spot within the family because of all the equipment that Porsche gives you at a slight discount. So as you can see, this week, the company has loaned me this gorgeous Carrera 4 GTS in the traditional hardtop, painted in this luscious shade of carmine red, to spend a full week with the car. We're gonna put it through our usual battery of tests. We're gonna live with the car for a full week. And at the end of this review, I'm gonna let you know, is the GTS model still the version that you wanna buy? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we talk about the exterior styling of the GTS trim, I want to show you guys what's underneath the hood. Now, a lot of people who aren't necessarily car people seem to think that electric cars are all about the frunk. However, Porsche and Volkswagen and the Volkswagen Audi group, they've been doing frunks for several decades. So the Carrera, well, it has one of the largest frunks that you're going to see in any vehicle. Now you can see, opening up the hood, there is a massively deep storage compartment that is sealed, that's well carpeted, it's also lit, that has a little bit of side storage as well. Porsche says you get roughly 4.6 cubic feet of space down here, which again, you could easily put some nice sized roller bags in here, and it's just a really great place to hide stuff away. The engine, as you guys know with 911s, is actually at the back. So we'll talk about the engine compartment, or what this vehicle is packing, when we get to the rear of the vehicle. But you can see here, there are your washer fluids up here at the front, but not really anything else that you can service. But again, very large frunk area, and the vehicle also has a trunk space that's also behind the rear seat, and if you also fold down the rear seat. So that's one of the reasons why the Carrera has always been somewhat of a practical sports car, because as you guys know, most sports cars don't have this kind of practicality when you're looking to actually use this as a daily driver. Let's go ahead and close the hood, because I want to show you guys the styling of this 992 generation GTS. Now, this one here is painted in the optional shade of carmine red. It's a $3,270 extra charge for the color, and it's a really luscious red. I mean, Porsche also offers a free red called Guards Red. However, I definitely prefer the carmine red. But if I was going to spend this kind of money on a color, I would actually go for the Python yellow or the shark blue that Porsche also offers. They also offer like a ceramic gray color, which again, the red is a good option. It certainly accentuates the lines of this vehicle very nicely. The GTS trim, as you can see, comes standard with Porsche's full LED headlights with their signature 4-point LEDs, LED low and high beam. You can also upgrade the headlights to get a black accented headlights with the LED matrix design. This does not have that extra charge, which is like an extra two grand. You can see down here, you have your LED turn signal. And this is also the LED daytime running light. There's two different areas where you have it in the LED headlight, and you also have it on the lower portion here. You can see a lot of the openings here are functional. The GTS gets its own unique front fascia with the flat black painted accents. You can also get this kind of painted in a glossy high black with a sport design package. But that's, again, an extra charge. But in this standard configuration, this model here definitely looks great. I mean, when Porsche first introduced this car in 2020, you could only really tell it was the new version because of the hood cut line, how it has kind of like a rectangular shape. Everything else looks pretty evolutionary. That's the way the 911 has always been. Porsche is very conservative with actually changing the look of this car. Now, moving around the side profile, you can see Porsche actually offers the GTS in several different trim configurations and body styles. This is the standard hardtop two-door. You can also get it as a cabriolet, and you can get it as a Targa. This one's also the all-wheel drive model, which makes it 100 pounds heavier because it gives you the extra drive shaft going to the front, giving you all-wheel drive. Now, these are the standard center lock wheels that you get. These wheels actually come from the Turbo S model. You can see these are the standard wheels painted in this kind of satin black. You can also get it in finished in high gloss black. Porsche also offers two different extra wheels where you can also get the wheels body colored to match the paint, or you can kind of get the RS Spider design wheels. You can see the GTS comes standard with the upgraded brakes from the Turbo and Turbo S. You can see it's cross drilled. It's got these 6-piston calipers painted in red. They also do offer a carbon ceramic brake if you guys want to spend an extra 8 grand to get that upcharge, where it will come with a yellow caliper. You can see here in North America, we have the amber accents for the turn signals, and then the GTS badge that's there at the lower part of the front door, which you can delete if you'd like. This vehicle is a really good size at 178 inches long. It actually makes it smaller than most of its competitors, and all 992s now come with the wide body package, so you don't have to spec up to get the GTS to get the wide body. The Turbo and Turbo S has an even wider rear frame still to give it, again, wider haunches, to give it more power, or to give it a more aggressive stance. Looking at the back here, let's talk about the engine, because as you can see here, I already have the flap open. This is basically the only way you can actually see anything with the engine. You can see you can add oil to this. You can also check the coolant or add coolant to it. You have 2 fan blades. This has the 3-liter twin turbocharged direct injection flat 6. Basically, this engine is the same engine that they use in the standard Carrera and the Carrera S, but Porsche has turned the wick up on the boost to 18.6 psi, and the result is 30 more horsepower and 30 more pound-feet of torque for a total of 473 and 420 pound-feet of torque. Remember, those are German horses. It's conservatively rated. I suspect this is probably making that at the wheels, because Porsche says this car should get to 60 in around 3.1 seconds. Well, we've got our 0 to 60 testing equipment. We'll see what we can actually get in the real world. Fuel economy is rated at 17 in the city, 23 on the highway. This car has the 8-speed PDK, so the dual clutch transmission with launch control. You can also get a 7-speed manual for no charge. And Porsche says this model here has a top speed of 192 miles an hour. It's 1 mile per hour slower versus the rear drive model, which will do 193 miles an hour. As this one sits, it weighs in at just over 3,500 pounds. So again, it's 100 pounds heavier versus the manual and 100 pounds heavier versus a rear drive version, which honestly isn't that much heavier. The Targa model is going to be the heaviest version. It's going to be a little over 3,600 pounds, which I'll be testing later on. But let me go ahead and close this and talk about the rear. You can see I've got the spoiler deployed on the back. That actually, you can manually make it retract or deploy, or it will pop up at speeds, I believe, above 70 miles an hour to let the popo know that you're speeding. You can see, I love the way the spoiler looks when you have it. When you're staring at it from this angle, you can see it really gives the 911 a much more aggressive stance. Porsche also offers like a sport design package, which will give you a fixed spoiler for those of you who prefer something that looks a little more crazy. You can see the taillights. These are the standard full-length LED taillights with a light bar. The GTS includes the black painted Porsche logos here, which you can also delete the GTS badge there and make this a little bit more stealth. The taillights, you can see, have a more 3-dimensional look, and then the exhaust tips, the GTS comes standard with the sport exhaust, and you can also get the tips painted in silver as opposed to the black chrome. So clearly the exterior of the 911 GTS is a beautiful proposition, but you're going to be spending most of your time inside. So let me go ahead and show you guys the spec of this particular one. Now, as you can see, here's the key fob for the vehicle. Porsche's been using this key for quite a long time. It's their intelligent access key. It's shaped like a car. It has just 3 simple buttons: lock, unlock, and then the trunk open button. Then there's a panic button here on the back. I believe you can also use the Porsche Connect app to gain access to the vehicle, but this is a press car. I don't have access to that. You can see this generation 911 introduced the pop-out door handles. You can see when the car is locked, the mirror will tract in, and then if you want to unlock the car, the door handles will pop out. It definitely gives the vehicle a sleeker look along the side when the door handle is retract, but it also lets people know when the car is unlocked because the door handle is popped out when the vehicle is unlocked and then retracted in when the vehicle is locked. Now, this particular model here has the GTS interior package, which includes things like the suede Alcantara along the steering wheel, the suede inserts in the seats, the suede along the door panels, and the beautiful red stitching along with the GTS that's embroidered into the actual seat head restraint, which looks nice. Love the fact that the red contrast stitching kind of matches the exterior along with the guard's red seat belts. It's just a really well done interior. All that red and leather is kind of accentuated through the door panel as well, where you have the matte carbon fibers splashed on the door panel along the dash. There is a door handle here that Feels very hefty. Surprised it's not actually aluminum accented. It feels really high quality. It feels like it's almost made out of one piece of metal. However, I do notice that when you open up this door handle, there are times where if I'm not careful, this will actually pinch my finger. So something to keep in mind. As an owner, you probably get used to that, but for somebody who gets into cars all the time, perhaps a passenger, they might pinch their finger on this and complain to you when they're getting out of this car. Now you can see my tester has the premium package, so it has the Bose stereo, which sounds pretty good. I believe it has a total of 12 speakers. There's also an optional Burmester sound system for $5,000. If you're an audiophile, you may want to choose that, but I found the Bose to be pretty good. The window controls, you can see high quality feel. You have power retractable or power mirrors, adjustable folding mirrors. Down here you can see there's some suede along with the soft touch plastic material. You're noticing a couple of empty buttons here because this model just has the 4-way seats, which means the 18-way power adjustable seats that includes the power tilt telescoping wheel, the heated wheel, and the memory seats. That's optional. It's an extra $2,000. Kind of insulting considering the price of this car. So without it, you just have a 4-way power seat. So you can basically move the seat up and down, and you can also retract the seat back with power. But if you want to actually move the seat forward, you actually have to use that little manual lever over there. Thankfully, these seats are heated. Ventilated seats are an extra charge for $740. My tester, again, does not have that. So there are several options that this model here is missing that I think are important for something like that's supposed to be a luxury daily driver in addition to being a sports car. Now, getting inside the vehicle, you can see definitely a low step-in height. That's what you expect when you're buying a sports car. And as you get in and shut the door has a nice solid sounding thunk, which gives you that impression of quality. Now, getting in, you want to start the vehicle up. Porsche does a little twisty thing here on the left side with the intelligent access key. You don't even have to take the key out, just put your foot on the brake and then twist this like a traditional ignition key. And then as you can hear, the engine fires up. It has that traditional flat 6 howl, and it sounds really good. We'll talk about the driving scene, or the sound of the vehicle later on in the driving scene. You can see with the GTS interior package, you have more suede Alcantara along the dashboard. You have real leather with contrasting stitching along this top portion of the dash. It's also leather along this area here, which is nice. Your airbag cover, you can see, is right there. It's even covered in leather along with the matte carbon fiber. With the suede Alcantara over the glove compartment. The steering wheel, as you can see, it's a manual tilt and telescoping adjustment, which offers a good amount of adjustability and range. Definitely prefer the power wheel with the memory function you get with the 18-way seats. This model here does have adaptive, or it has cruise control with lane keep assist, but it's missing the Porsche adaptive cruise control, which again is still extra. The GTS versions come with the Sport Chrono package, so you have the drive mode selector over here along with the Sport Response button. You have buttons to control the digital display here along with the analog central tack. That's always been a Porsche thing. The horn actually sounds pretty mean. It literally screams "F you, get out of my way" for a vehicle this size as well. I like that. I also like how the GTS package includes the red accented tack and the red accented Sport Chrono clock. That's typically an extra charge of like $500 a la carte if you guys want to add that to any 911. The paddles on the wheel, you can see, control the gear changes for the 8-speed PDK. Porsche introduced this kind of like razor shaver on this new generation. If you guys want a manual is also available at no charge. I will be driving the manual sometime next month. You can see there's dual zone climate control. You have buttons here to raise and lower the front of the vehicle via the front axle lift system, which also has a memory function. That's an extra $2,000. There's your sport exhaust. You can turn the exhaust loud and quiet. There's the dynamic chassis control where you can make the dampers hard or soft. And you can also raise the nose over here. This right here is the 10.9-inch Porsche Connect head unit. This is technically the older system. I've seen the 2023 model with the updates and the Taycan, which added colorful icons. They also upgraded the GPS. This is the standard one, which, as you can see, CarPlay does take up the entire screen, which is definitely nice. It's a touchscreen. It's wireless CarPlay, and Porsche also added wireless Android Auto with over-the-air updates. This is definitely a nice addition, and I also like how it takes up a good amount of size of the screen. You can see this kind of almost looks like an all-digital display. You can adjust the way this looks. You can put your GPS right there in that display, or you can put all different kinds of information. It just, gives you a lot of information. This vehicle is definitely nice, and along with a more traditional look to the actual instrument panel. Down here you can see, don't like the shadow or the shiny piano black, which is going to show dust and fingerprint marks. Your manual or your shifter right here, if you put the vehicle into reverse, this car does have the full top-down 360 camera with parking sensors and rear cross-traffic alert, which is pretty nice. You can also change a couple of the views here and show different side curve views to keep you from curbing those beautiful 20-inch wheels. Overall, though, this is pretty good. There's the factory GPS, which is nothing super special. It works fine. This isn't as good as what I've seen in some Audi products. But Porsche's system here, I think, actually works better than Audi's because Audi uses the older software. This is definitely a little bit faster to respond and also comes with over-the-air updates, which is pretty nice. Down here you can see this is your 3-level heated seats. If you had cooled seats, there'd be a separate button over here. The buttons still have a very satisfying clicky feel, which is typical Porsche and Volkswagen. You can see here's one cup holder here. Open this up, you can see there is a storage compartment here with a wireless phone charging pad, which my tester unfortunately doesn't have. It fits my iPhone 12 Pro Max pretty well. There's 2 USB-C charging ports over there, more suede on the armrest over here. And if you're looking for a second cup holder, that's over here on the passenger side only. Remember, Porsche tends to over-engineer on their cup holders. The seats are also very comfortable and supportive. I love the suede Alcantara, although this is probably going to show wear, so I might actually delete the suede and go for the chalk interior, which is a lighter color, especially with this red. Opening up the glove box, you can see it's damped and lined with felt. It actually offers a good amount of storage, which is great. And then behind me, you can see my tester does have the back seats. Back seats are kind of laughable because, as you can see, there isn't really much in terms of legroom. You can fold those down to increase the cargo capacity, which most people use this for packages, or you can also put stuff there, or you can put small kids or people you don't like. So overall, it's a very practical interior, not really a true 4-seater, but at least it offers the option of that. But you're really going to use that for storage. And in terms of tech, this has most of the things you're going to find: good visibility, comfortable seats, easy to use interface, good tech. I think it's just a really nice place to spend time, which is one of the reasons why so many people buy these as a daily driver. So here we are back in the quintessential sports car for all enthusiasts, a Porsche 911 Carrera 4 GTS. The last time that I had a chance to drive this 911, this GTS trim, I was actually out at Porsche's Experience Center in Atlanta, where I only had the car for maybe an hour or so. I've had a chance to drive and show you guys a full review on this car, as well as a Turbo and a Turbo S. So I'm really excited to be kind of going down the 911 food chain here. And the GTS has always been that model that is the perfect blend of sportiness and daily livability, because it has the extra power that you want, and it has all the sportier bits that you want as well. Now this one here is also the all-wheel drive version. It's about 100 pounds heavier versus the rear drive model, and Porsche says this is the quickest variant of the GTS. You should be able to get to 60 in as little as 3.1 seconds, which everybody knows is already conservative. So let's go ahead and test out what we can get here. So I have the car in Sport Plus. We'll use the launch control. Oh, no. God. Wow. 0 to 60 in 2.97 seconds. About what I expected. I expected this car to be a sub 3-second car because Porsche is always conservative. The Germans are always conservative. And you know what? Considering the price tag of this car, which is like, it's 50 grand cheaper than the Turbo S, which is only 0.4 seconds faster. I mean, 2.9 seconds is crazy, crazy fast. I mean, this will keep up with those really fast, high-performance electric cars. And this isn't even the quickest variant of the 911. That's why this car has always been kind of like that hero sports car, because it punches way above its weight. And that's what's so beautiful about the 911 is how good it actually is and how much faster it is in the real world. And I just got 2.97 seconds again, and that was on the slightly uphill gradient. So I'm not entirely sure why back there when it was slightly, on more level ground, it was the same, but the fact that it can just do 2.97s consistently is hugely impressive. And this is exactly why the GTS has always been the sweet spot in the 911 family. I mean, Porsche has only offered the GTS for, I want to say the last 15 years or so, but they keep ramping it up. They keep making it its own identity, its own model. So because of the extra power, which remember, this car has 473 horsepower, an extra 30 versus the standard S. Put your foot down here. This PDK, God, the 8-speed PDK is just a mind reader. The steering is telepathic. The 4-wheel steering that my tester has, it has the optional rear axle steering, just makes this car so communicative, so playful. The steering is among the best that I've ever felt for an electric power steering assist. Even this car's adaptive dampers, this car here has the dynamic chassis control. It has the ability to basically dial it all the way into like track mode or dial it back all the way into comfort. Even in Sport Plus with the dampers and the chassis in Sport, it actually still rides okay. I mean, this is definitely firm, but you can kind of fix that anytime you just change the drive mode here into Sport. You can feel that the chassis gets a little bit softer, the revs get a little bit quieter, the PDK adjusts itself. But really, I'm just shocked. I am shocked at how good the GTS version is. I mean, when I first drove this car out in Atlanta, I knew it was good. But after spending some time in the Turbo and Turbo S, my God, this is just the perfect amount of power. Now, just because we can, I want to try it one more time here. This time it's in Sport Plus. We are on a level ground here again. I'm going to make sure to engage the Sport Response button here. Oh, God. Freaking brutal. 2.94 seconds there. So, again, very consistently 2.94. And yeah, I mean, as much as I love the turbo model, the GTS version is plenty fast. It's plenty insane. And it's just crazy to me. We are at the pinnacle of internal combustion engine, and 911s are the cars that are going to show you that. I mean, anytime you just go near the throttle here. Oh, and the sound of this motor. I mean, this is the smaller 3-liter twin turbo flat 6. And it just has that classic flat 6 howl. It revs all the way up to 7,400 RPM. Now, again, I haven't had a chance to drive a GT3. I'm hoping to get my hands on a GT3 at some point very soon. But that's the one that has the naturally aspirated flat 6 that'll rev to 9,000. This engine, though, has so much torque. This actually has more torque than the GT3 engine, which is why some people have almost compared this car to a GT3. I don't think it's going to compare to one because, I mean, as good as this car is in the corners where the suspension stays so flat, GT3s are just built for the track. Haven't had a chance to drive one yet, but this car also has paddles on the wheel which just respond so fast to anytime you go near them. Oh my God, this car. And really, you can't go wrong with any variant of the 911, but you have to love this car. It's just so good. Oh, the noise that it makes. Well, we'll go back into sport mode here, which this is where in this mode you'll actually hear more burbles and cracks from the exhaust. Surprisingly, Sport Plus actually dials back on the burbles and crackles from the exhaust. You can hear it again there. That is such a fantastic noise. I could never get tired of doing that, but regardless, let's put the car into normal mode because I want to briefly talk about what it's like to live with the GTS on a daily basis. In this mode, you can hear the exhaust baffles close up, the steering gets a lot lighter, the suspension gets super soft, and this is where the car turns into a luxury car, surprisingly. I mean, there's a reason why this is the best-selling sports car of all time, because you can easily daily drive this. It's exotic enough to take to the track. It may not attract the attention of like the C8 Corvette, or a Lamborghini or an Audi R8 or an Acura NSX, but this car is just simply easier to live with on a daily basis. You have back seats that are not really usable for people, but usable in terms of stuff. You have a large frunk. It's a small car that's easy to drive around, but it also doesn't feel heavy and wide and big, and it doesn't beat you up in terms of the ride quality. Now, yes, there's so many variants of this car that you could make this car a super exotic, a supercar killer, or a hypercar killer like the Turbo S. But this model here is so well balanced, it's so well proportioned that I think there's a reason why Porsche continues to push the GTS trim. It's just that good, and I really, really appreciate just being able to spend all this time with the 911. This 992 generation is the best one yet in terms of tech, in terms of luxury, in terms of performance, and also in terms of fuel efficiency. I've been driving this car for a week, and in my week's worth of testing, I've been averaging around 17 miles to the gallon, which isn't wonderful. Now on the highway, this car is rated to get 23. I got around 22 mpg, which actually isn't too bad. On full tank, this will do over 400 miles. So again, if you're gonna daily drive one of these on the highway, you can easily do 420 miles on a full tank. Now that is on premium, but again, it's very, very good gas mileage for what it is. Now, could Porsche make that better by offering a hybridized, electrified version? Sure, they could. However, I don't believe electrification is coming for this generation. It's going to coming for, I believe, the next gen, but Porsche is going to be holding back on doing electrification for the 911 for a while because, or for as long as they can, because this is the halo of their sports car. This is the king, basically, and enthusiasts are certainly going to be upset when they get rid of that lovely flat 6 HAL, and I'm super happy it's here to stay. The fact that you can get this with the manual, which I should be driving the manual model as well next month, and spending a full week with that vehicle, so stay tuned for a full review on that. But overall, if you guys are looking at this model here, the coupe with the PDK, and you want all-wheel drive, I can happily say that I actually prefer this, I think, over the Turbo and Turbo S that I tested earlier this year. So after spending a full week with the 992 GTS trim in the all-wheel drive variant, I have to say, for those of you who have the means to be able to afford any 911, because remember, this is certainly no longer a cheap proposition. Every version starts at over $100,000. I've had a chance to spend some time in the Turbo and Turbo S, and now spending a full week with the GTS trim. I have to say, as much as I like the Turbo and Turbo S, you really only buy that model because you want the absolute most bonkers and most expensive 911, because both of those versions will well over $200,000. Remember, most people are going to be happy with even the base Carrera. That'll get to 60 in 4 seconds, and that starts at $102,000. You can get it with a manual transmission. All-wheel drive is roughly a $7,500 proposition. Now, the beauty about the GTS trim for me is the fact that Porsche throws in a lot of value into the equation, because this model here starts at $142,000, but it also includes a lot of extras that you have to spec in as extra on the S while giving you an extra 30 horsepower. So that's kind of what makes the GTS so unique, because this model here has a lot of options that I personally would spec in on an S, where if you add those options, it makes it significantly more expensive while not having the additional power. So for those of you who like a sporty 911 with all of the performance upgrades, you should automatically check mark the box for a GTS trim, because as you guys saw, this thing is really easy to live with on a daily basis. When you put it into normal, it has a really great ride quality, it has comfortable seats, although I really think that at this price, you should get the premium package with the 18-way seats that are power as standard. It's an insult to me that it's still an extra charge for $2,000 more. The performance of this thing is just unworldly. 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds makes it among the quickest cars that I've ever tested. It's as quick as something like an Audi RS e-tron GT, the all-electric supercar that was driven in the movie Avengers. But again, this is a gas model, and it's not that much slower than the Turbo and Turbo S. I got 2.7 and 2.5 in the Turbo and Turbo S, and those cars were well over $200,000, $220 for the Turbo S. And this model here, with some of the options that it has, like the premium package, the rear axle steering, the front axle lift system, the color, plus destination. This one here is 169 grand, just under 170 grand. Now keep in mind, with all the supply chain shortages and how everything is kind of getting more and more expensive, this car is now $175,000 as built on Porsche's website as of August of 2022. So it's kind of sad that the cars keep getting more and more expensive. But remember, this model here is still missing some options that I would have preferred to add. So once you kind of add in the options like the sunroof that I would check box and the power seats, I would also go with probably a lighter interior or the Python green color. You can easily spec this up to be well over $190,000. But remember, 911s, they are kind of like the Goldilocks of cars. You can spec these up exactly how you'd like to your heart's content, and Porsche is willing to do that as long as you're willing to pay the moolah. So obviously, still a fantastic sports car. Is it the benchmark for me? Absolutely. Are there options that are basically just as nice? Sure, you could say the Corvette, the new Corvette, is almost as nice as this vehicle, but I would also argue that there's still something special about the 911. It makes you feel special driving it. It just feels like a well-engineered car that you can beat on every day, that's also going to last a long time. That's the beauty about this car, and it's why Porsche continues to sell nearly 10,000 of these every year. It is the best-selling sports car nameplate in the industry. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my very detailed full look at the 2022 Porsche 911 Carrera 4 GTS. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.